Welcome to a virtual discussion series, The Music of the People, Hip Hop and Beyond. My name is Lane Cobb and I'm your co-host for this evening, and I'm going to ask everybody, if you're not speaking, please mute. This series is brought to you by Inu Builds. They're a community-based organization headquartered in Ossining, New York that is committed to building community, empowering youth, and inspiring networking and growth for the enrichment of Black, Brown, and Indigenous youth of color. In New Builds, founders Tamara Bridgewater and Jermaine Smith are going to also be joining us this evening, and you'll hear from them later. This discussion series is made possible by a grant funded through the Arts 3D Foundation under the Inu Builds Arts Access Program. During this first rotation of the awarded 2-year grant, Inu is focused on providing workshops and community engagement, highlighting the celebration of 50 years of hip hop. This is the first of 5 planned discussions on that topic, and each one is going to be a little bit different. So my co-host today is AJ Woodson, editor-in-chief of Black Westchester magazine, which just celebrated its 9th year of publishing the news with a Black point of view. He is also co-host of People Before Politics Radio, which live streams on Sundays from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern. AJ is uniquely qualified to moderate this discussion because he was the front man for the rap group JVC Force and is currently writing a book on the history of hip hop in Westchester, which I'm sure he's going to tell you about. Our topic for this evening's panel discussion is Beatbox, the Art of Noise. We're going to hear from 2 musical and percussion artists who will discuss their knowledge of the art of beatbox and its importance to the music and the culture of hip hop. And we may even have some youth performances this evening to share with you. So after I introduce our panelists, I'm going to turn over the mic to AJ. But before I do that, Jermaine, would you like to say a few words of welcome before we get started?
Yeah, thank you, Lane. Again, thank you for being a fantastic partner, Lane, and all of this work we're doing with community engagement. You and AJ have been amazing and continue to push all these conversations forward in the community. I so appreciate you. And thank you to Michael and Andrew for being here and sharing your expertise and the culture I love and how I grew up in hip hop. And so I'm actually, that influences my work in the community to this day, even to the business initiatives that we're doing in the community. I'm excited to be here and welcome the conversation. Thank you all.
Thank you, Jermaine, and we're happy to be a part of this. I know that. So I'm going to introduce our panelists, and then I'm going to turn the mic over to AJ. Both of our panelists this evening have lengthy bios and are very talented, so I encourage you to find them on the web. Michael Feigenbaum is a performer and rhythm specialist who considers himself a citizen of the world. Swiss born, raised in Israel, and based in New York, he has spent his 20-plus year career performing in theaters, arenas, and TV worldwide in front of millions of spectators. As a dancer and musician, Michael has created and performed in award-winning shows with, among others, Cirque du Soleil's Franco Dragone, Disney's Daniel Flannery, Giuliano Pepperini, and the Mayumana Company. He shared bills with Sting, Beyonce, and Anastasia, among others. Michael has played Lincoln Center, New York, Dome de Paris in France, Arena de Verona in Italy, Royal Carré in the Netherlands, Beijing Olympic Village in China, Grand Rex, Argentina, Sejong Center in Seoul, South Korea, and Habima, Israel. My goodness. You can find more about Michael on his website at www.mybeat.biz, B-I-Z. Andrew Wang is a beloved music educator in the Yonkers Public Schools. He received his undergraduate degree at the University of Miami in Coral Gables, Florida. While in Florida, Andrew was an adjudicator for the Florida All-State in Classical Voice. Andrew has received his certification in K-12 music in the state of Florida as well as New York. He also has his master's in music education from Kent State University. Andrew has also taught in the public school and charter school system of New York City, where his students performed in the largest children's chorus in the world at the Prudential Center in New Jersey. Andrew has coached vocal students and helped them, I'll start over. Andrew has coached vocal students and helped them gain acceptance into the top conservatories and performing arts high schools in the country, such as Berklee College of Music, Professional Performing Arts High School, and Talent Unlimited. Andrew believes good teaching happens when the student feels successful. And again, We may hear from some of Andrew's students this evening, and we'll find out who they are a little later in the program. We are certainly grateful to both of you for joining us this evening. Thank you. So now let me turn the mic over to AJ. AJ?
Yes. Welcome everybody to this great podcast. We're doing this session on beatbox. I wanted to start off. This is the 50-year anniversary of hip hop, and beatbox and the art of beatbox is the lost element that most people don't talk about. You hear about the artists, the MCs, the DJs. You occasionally start seeing more about the graffiti. But you don't really hear about beatbox. Beatbox was a very important tool back in the days when we didn't have music. Us MCs, we were either banging on a beat on a table, or someone was making a beat with their mouth, which became beatboxing. And it unlike MCing, hip hop has gone all these different places. Beatbox and graffiti and DJ keep hip hop to the essence of the street, and to the original source. So we're gonna have a discussion. I wanted to say real quick before I do, shout out to Michael, because Sting is cool, but I don't know too many people that shared the stage with Beyonce. So thumbs up for that one. So you go good with me for that. For real talk. So I wanted to set the tone. I have a video we're getting ready to play. And it's a lot of the early legends of beatbox. So we're going to play that now, and then I'm going to talk to Andrew and Mike about it on the other end. So if you can play that video for us, Lane, please.
Yep, I can, and I hope this is it, because I'm looking at a whole lot of screens open, and we might have to go back and find the right one. Let's try
That's
this.
That's it. Yeah.
September 1966, Douglas Davis was born on Barbados. His family then moved to Harlem, New York, where he grew up. On his street was a record label and shop called Enjoy Records. He used to walk by and always hear the music being played, and that's how he got introduced to hip-hop. Doug would hear the same songs, so he remembered them and started imitating them with nothing else but his mouth.
I would walk straight across, and then the speakers was outside. I would hear certain songs. And then when I hear the songs, I will remember the melody of the song. And then I say, when I come back, I'm gonna be able to put the melody with the beat. And it got to a point where I was doing 8, 9 things at the same damn time.
And this was the start of something amazing. The person who found out about Doug's skill and pushed him to do something with it was Barry B, and he's actually the one who came up with the name The Human Beatbox.
And he would change records, and I would wait for a minute, and when I'm waiting, I go, and he'd be like, what's that you doing? You should do that outside. You should call that the human beatbox.
The term beatbox itself originated from a drum machine, a box that made beats. It was probably this one right here, the Roland TR-808. Then around the year 1982, Doug started doing shows and slowly made a name for himself. Fun fact, he used to play the trumpet as a kid, which is probably why his lip oscillations are so good. Around the same time, Darren Robinson aka Buffy started beatboxing as a part of the Fat Boys trio, previously known as the Disco 3. No one really knows who started first, but Buffy was the first one recorded on tape. Anyway, in 1984, Doug joined Enjoy Records with the nickname Dougie Fresh, alongside the Get Fresh crew, which consisted of DJ Chillwell, DJ Barry B, and also MC Ricky D, later known as Slick Rick. They produced the original Human Beatbox, Just Having Fun, and a year later, The Show and La Di Da Di.
Lottie Dottie, we likes to party, we don't cause trouble and we don't bother nobody, we're just some Lakers
which were really successful and are actually one of the most sampled songs of all time. By the way, Doug was only 19 at the time, which is kinda crazy. So there were 3 well-known beatboxers of this era. Dougie Fresh with his click style, then Buffy with his vocalized heavy breathing, and finally Biz Markie, who used a lot more vocals but also elements from the other 2 styles. Biz first became well known for his beatboxing after performing with Roxanne Shante. He was a very innovative beatboxer. He developed the inward hand clap and was also the first one to do singing while beatboxing. Anyway, in the late 80s, beatbox was going mainstream, not only with Doug Biz and the Fat Boys, but also Reddy Roxy, who was touring with Will Smith.
When we rock the house, there is no doubt, me.
And Queen Latifah, who was beatboxing for the group Ladies Fresh. I mean, even Michael Jackson was beatboxing. But now it wasn't as exciting anymore, because it seemed like everyone could do it, and people slowly forgot about it. But at the same time, a new underground wave was born. But before we get into that, I think there's a few more people from this era worth mentioning. Bobby McFerrin, who incorporated vocal percussion into his jazz performances. He was an inspiration to many a cappella groups who used beatboxing in some form, like Take 6 for example. There was also Michael Winslow, who became famous for his crazy sound effects in the movie Police Academy. So there was an underground community, but still only in the US, and that's where beatbox battles began. Taking the concept from rap battles, beatboxers would go head to head to show who's got better skills. The winners were well respected and the losers not so much, especially if they copied someone. That was a big taboo, it was a serious game back then. So beatboxers could make a name for themselves through battling. Two names you might recognize are Rahzel and Kenny Muhammad. Let's talk about Kenny first. He really took beatboxing in a new direction. Before it was used only to accompany rap and it was just a part of hip-hop. But Kenny used beatbox in a way where it became its own thing, its own art form. You've probably heard his iconic wind technique or water technique. Rahzel, who was a part of the Roots, stuck to hip-hop, but he put beatboxing back in the spotlight with his album Make the Music 2000. It was released in 1999, don't let the title confuse you. It was packed with amazing beatbox.
You get me?
And at the end was a secret track called Man vs. Machine, which featured Kenny Muhammad's wind and water technique and Rahzel's infamous If Your Mother Only Knew. Rahzel later left the Roots and his spot was taken by Scratch, and he, as his name might imply, was known for vocal scratching. He really took it to the next level.
Ladies and gentlemen, what you're about to hear is 100% vocals.
He left the Roots in 2003. But now let's go back a couple of years to the mid-90s in the UK, where Lee Potter picked up beatboxing, and at the age of 17 started his career under the name Killa Killa.
Okay.
All right.
So I wanted to share that. I wanted to set the tone to show some of the early originators of the beatbox, how it came along. You know, as a hip hop head, I used to do all beatbox, graffiti, MC, and DJ, but I could only do like one or two things at a time. Like to see Rahzel, who could sing and do the beatbox at the same time, and Biz that could hold another note and do and then Dougie was doing multiple things at the same time. That just was amazing. That's just where it got to. I wanted to allow Andrew and Michael to speak about the video we just seen and maybe some of the inspirations that for what you do now. Mike? Okay.
Sure. Yeah, so just thank you so much for this clip. It's super inspiring and brings up some memories. And thank you everyone for joining in. Tamara, how's it going? And yeah, and thanks for having me. First of all, it's really my amazing honor and privilege to, you know, celebrate hip hop's 50th year with everyone here who actually cares about, you know, the movement and really the impact it's done. So just a quick note about a reference for timeline. I'm a 75 baby, 1975. So I started beatboxing in 1988. So back then, really, there wasn't too much to take from, but I remember that I was in complete shock by Ready Roxy,
Yes.
who we mentioned just now, Fat Boys, Buffy. Like I remember buying some of their later CDs in I think 1990. They had a CD On and On, which had a full track of beatboxer versus drum set. So yeah, grew up in that era, and growing up in Israel, like not too much of hip hop came through, like only the big names and not a lot of it. So I would have to get like cassette tapes from people who knew people if somebody came from abroad. I mean, like, oh, you're listening to this group, oh my god, do you have a cassette? I'd have a double cassette and I would like record, and like, the um the level, the quality is always like shot because you use like a cassette that's overdubbed 50 times. And I was a kid, so I didn't have all the chrome, double chrome cassettes. You guys remember this era of the like, the Maxwell double chrome cassettes, or all these kind of things. So Fuji had like came out with like chrome dioxide or something, and I see some people laughing because it's like that was our life back then. So definitely as a kid, like I just could not believe that I'm allowed to just do music doing like, just that was I think a mental necessity that I had, like a emotional and mental necessity that I had, to just do.
Oops.
Oh, you muted yourself, Michael. Or unmute, hon. You got muted again.
Sorry, was I muted the whole
Yeah.
time?
No,
No, no,
no,
no.
no.
Just at the end. Just at the end. Well,
I didn't touch,
I want to interrupt you real quick.
didn't touch anything.
The
So
amazing thing about what you said, like living in New York, so we heard, it started here. So we heard it on the radio, we heard it in the street, but it was like and it wasn't like an internet where you could Google it and you can go to YouTube at the time. You it's amazing that those tapes traveled over to where you were and inspired what you do. That was amazing. I want to hear about some of Andrew's inspirations and any comments he has about the video we just showed.
Yeah, no, it was really cool to see. Like, okay, I wasn't born in that time. I was born in the '90s, but it was cool to see. It kind of feels like something that, like, you realize that it's never been written. There's like no notation of it. And that's what I find kind of cool. Like, I know in the music education method, there's a thing called Kodai, which is like folk songs being passed. And I felt like beatbox had that same thing. You would hear something, then you would take something, you try something, and then someone else tries something. It's like, it's never been like written out what they're doing. Like, it's never been written out. They just came up with it and was a way to communicate, come together. It's kind of like, you know, I think of it like, when they first had the block parties or like children in the playground, just like making sounds and then feeling how to make it all work together. Um, I guess my thing was like, I was born right when the internet was starting. Um, so, I mean, I literally heard it from a counselor in a camp I went to and just imitated it. And I don't know why, it just felt natural. Um, but I think one of the big inspirations is just like being around like different things around me and then just making sounds based on, a car horn and making a noise based on people walking or the sound of rain, like uh, it just felt like very, I guess, natural to me, which is a blessing and a curse. I mean, like in school, like if I were to do that, they were saying like, "What are you doing?" Sometimes in my head, I felt like I just was playing like a drum set type thing. Like I wasn't even thinking like I was like making random noises to distract people. Like I literally felt like I was in something or involved in something, which actually then transferred me from beatbox to playing the drums. And so now I use a lot of those imitations on the drums to kind of imitate my beats. And almost beatboxing kind of excelled my career because then I went into like a lot of beatbox is similar, or maybe started around like with the scat singing and jazz improvisation. So because of my beatboxing, I felt like it was easy to actually transition to improvising in a vocal jazz setting. And I never thought of it that way, um, until I went to college. And I always think of it like I just imitate other beatboxers. I can imitate other jazz singers. It's connected.
I had the pleasure. I moved to Long Island when I was 7, and I came back to Mount Vernon when I was 14. I went back and forth. So I lived in Central Islip, Long Island. I had the pleasure of becoming good friends with Bismarck. He was basically wherever he laid his mic was his home. He just was every town claimed Bismarck. He was just, if you ever see the documentary, he just shows up. I lived in a corner house and he would just be outside for no apparent reason, just beatboxing. And then a lot of us would come up and we would just start emceeing and it would just be a thing. He would show up, the Rakim talks about in the documentary, he just showed up at Wyandanch High School one day and he didn't even go to that school. Just start beatboxing. And that's how him and Rakim met. They were like, "Yo, there's this guy making noises in the cafeteria." And Rakim went, and then they start rhyming. And that's just how Biz was. What I wanted to talk about when you was talking about improv, where the different places where the sound went. Mike, you have a video where you showing the combination of taking the beat and modern dance, and you combined a lot of that stuff, and I think it's like a 2-minute clip or something. If you want to show a piece of that and share that with the people, that would be great. Or Lane, do you have it queued up?
No, if Michael has it, let's let him do it. And just while he's getting that, I just want to say there's folks watching on Facebook and they said it's great. So
Okay, thank you.
Great. So yeah, I think we'll look at two types of improvs that I did. One was in a quick word in a classical orchestra setting, and how to kind of cross genre beatboxing with and the beauty of improvisation, which I totally share with Andrew. I think that is one of the things that still today when I work with musicians, like just the ease and the playfulness by which I can whip out a beat. Everyone's always like, "Oh, that's so great, let's just play something together." It just immediately kind of breaks the ice and invites people in. All right, let's take a look at that.
Yeah, it's amazing how beatbox has just traveled the world, and it from where it was and how it's inspired so many different people and become so many different things to so many people. Go ahead, Mike.
Can everybody see it?
Yes.
Okay, it's a lengthy part, and I will share one more thing, but I just want to say, for us beatboxers, and Andrew, you might agree with me, this is super simple, right? I do two bars, two
Yeah,
eight counts,
great.
and I pass it on. You guys have to understand how long we had to rehearse this with
Oh yeah.
them just to pull off something which for us intuitively just, oh yeah, of course I'm gonna drop two eight counts and I'll pass it on to you. So it goes to show a lot about this culture, and like you said, AJ, which I totally feel and agree, is that it catches the essence of the street, of the communal thing, of just like, let's do it now on the spot.
With your video showed, real quick, reminds me of back in the days, the dueling banjos or something. You know, one person would play, one person would play, and then we have that, we recreate that a lot. Where we just had an event called the Beats That Made Hip Hop at Mount Vernon Public Library, and we had a beatbox, and we had a African drummer, brother Abishai Lane, and we had a DJ scratching. So the beatbox would do something, Abishai would play it on the African drums, and then the DJ would add in the scratches, and it was like it was like kind of like a battle, you know what I'm saying, between the beatbox and the African drums, and it was incredible. And then you had the DJ scratching. So like, there's so many things, and this came from a need. Like, we didn't really have instruments, we didn't really have equipment. Like, I started out as a DJ. My first equipment was a receiver somebody that broke and didn't have no side on no back on it, and you know, and we connected other things to it. But the beatbox, the same thing with banging on the table, allowed us to replicate the lack of having the instruments, the lack of having equipment, so that we could rock a party, and became a good thing. And that clip that they showed with Bismarck is funny because Roxanne Shante was supposed to do the show with Marley Marl, and they fell out just before the show. And he was like, "Go do the show yourself." And Biz was like, "Oh, we don't need him." And they literally did that on the spot. Like, nobody, that wasn't even planned. Wow. She was supposed to, Marley Marl and her had a fallout. So anyway, you know, it's important to show the history of hip hop and where it's going. Andrew, you have a clip where you were in Costa Rica or something, teaching some kids the beatbox. Can we look at a little bit of that real quick?
Yeah.
How worldly this thing has gotten.
Absolutely. Let me see if I can share my screen.
Yeah, hold on, hon. I think I have to set you up.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, I guess I could give some. Oh wait.
Yeah, set it up and give some background, and then I'll.
So, I guess I was in it through a program where I was teaching music in Costa Rica. I was part of a program called Performing Arts Abroad, and I was there for like 7 weeks. And one of the jobs that I had, I was working in a private school, but I also worked at this elementary school right near where I was living at the time. And, you know, I just was teaching music to the kids. And one of the kids said, like, I do a little bit of breakdancing. Maybe we could do, like, there was like a talent show type thing. The crazy part is we did not rehearse it at all. But it was still like so natural for both of us to just know how to feel what the music was doing, how he moved based on how the music was going. This is a 5th grader, by the way, when you see this. It like totally blew my mind, because like when I saw like the video of it, I was like, wow, he really was following every single thing I was doing and keeping it.
Let me interrupt you. Let me interrupt you, Andrew. If anybody who's not speaking, can you mute your so we don't have the outside noises, so you can hear the speaker? And did you set him up?
He should be good. He should be good.
Let's go into your your video if you can.
Absolutely, no, not that one.
Yeah, this is just this is amazing.
There it is.
Yeah, here we go.
That's the breakdance, obviously.
Beatbox. Si no entiendes beatbox, como ejemplo para este. Here we go.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Andrew. Thank you very much. That's
So I
awesome.
think the
That,
coolest part
yeah,
about it was, if you notice from a teaching perspective, he was listening to see what I was going to do next to
you can see.
anticipate. Right. And we never rehearsed it. But I'm just saying, like, that's the communication music has when you get to that point where it just feels like just play, just feels fun.
It's the improvisation. Um, it's amazing. That's what you do on the stage, and to see the global effect of hip hop. The
Mhm.
first time that I went overseas, and the first time we performed in, like, say, Germany, and you ask the people what they want to hear. They're shouting out song titles. They're singing your lyrics, and then you go out in the crowd later on to hang with them, and they can't speak English. The only English they know is your song. Like, it's just amazing. That blew my mind. Like, the effect that and it's the global love that is what kept hip hop alive, because it kind of died down. They take it very seriously overseas, like how we did in the early '80s. They, like, it's a big thing. It's a big culture over there. So, I'm glad to see that. How you showed, in Costa Rica, and it was great how y'all just played off each other, and you could see he was like, he would hear you, and then he would move, like, and you couldn't tell me that y'all didn't practice that for like weeks before y'all did it. Like, and you said, it
Oh,
was just
I mean, the crazy thing is that kid is like, what, maybe 9 or 10 years old to have that level of skill to let that build up. What was I gonna say? But yeah, what music you're saying, like they know the songs, man. Music is a universal language, and it really does show exemplified. Not even in speaking, in sounds. Sounds are even a universal language. It's like it's unbelievable. It's really cool, I think.
So, AJ, could I ask a question? Because
absolutely.
I'm so curious about this, right? Because I listen, I can't make any of those sounds of my. I'm just like, how are they even doing this? Like, how does anybody do this, right? And so I know also that you guys have students. How do you teach somebody to do something like this, right? Can you give a breakdown? Can you give us like a little mini lesson? Like,
Sure. It just so happened that I prepared. I don't know. It just so happens that I prepared a little something. I
just
don't
so
know. It's
happens.
completely spontaneous, where you just hold this up and you teach kids how to do. Where these two
That's
arrows are inhales. You want to inhale and inhale, and then you go ph, which means it's like a,
Yep.
and a short high ps. And sort of like in rhythmic notes, I put the low notes down on the page visually and the high notes up here, so they can think, oh,
oh my God.
Yeah, nice. It has that visual audit. I was thinking of it like a listening map that I've used, like where they're like tracing it in the sense to hear the low and high. So yeah, that's really cool.
And
I
I met.
totally, I, I totally agree with you, Andrew. Some students, if we're talking about how you teach something like this, they actually are confused by seeing something. Reading actually, holds them back. They just need to listen to the sound or see my lips move when I go like. You know what I mean? Like, oh, they just need to look at you and instantly everything goes in. And for some other students, I think I'm always, for example, for me, like I was always good at seeing. If I can read it, then I probably would somehow find a way to do it. So I always try to offer both, like, methods in that. And also sometimes it's even better to just close your eyes and hear whatever you hear. Try to do that, and there's no wrong answer, so to speak, in
Right.
beatboxing, right? So it's a magical art form in that sense.
Now I met Andrew at one of the they put a series of events for this book by Jerome Ender, the Yonkers, the Lost City of Hip Hop. And
Yeah.
one of the events was in Greenberg, and
Oh yeah.
Andrew was breaking down for the audience the sound that you make with your mouth and the instrument that it was, like a drum sound and all that. You breaking, and if you could do just a little bit of that, I don't know if you remember what I'm talking about, but if you
No,
can
no,
just
I
do,
do. I don't have a bucket on me, but oh no, I didn't even use a bucket. I used sticks. Basically, what I was
right, you
doing,
had sticks, right.
what like if you were in a classroom, there's only one drum set. There's not going to be 15 of them, right? So like, how does someone get the feel of what they're playing before they play it? Now people say like to air play it, but it's like, yeah, but how do you know what it sounds like even if you air play it? So I started, like I was saying before, I haven't really a lot of my beatboxing based on drums that I played for 13 years. And so like I would have, well, you can't see my foot, but like the foot, if I were to, I can't live, would be the bass, like, and then your hi-hat is the snare. Is your wow. Then there's the hi-hat sound, and then the snare. So then I just started to do the basic beat. You know, and then like adding in different fills, different rudiments. It's just a cool way to feel. And then when they get to the actual instrument, they feel more comfortable because they can hear the exact emulating sound from your mouth be almost exactly the same as the drum set. But
Wow.
there are other ways that I've taught it. I've used it sometimes. There's like a thing called like rhythmic blocks that is in an ORF setting. So like they get like, and they put it in a certain combination, and then each group at a time will present their beatbox composition. See, I think people when they're, and you can do this when they're young. That's the best part about this type of thing, is that people get scared to say the word composition because then it has to be so perfect. It has to be this and that. But kind of like Michael said, there's no wrong sounds. Just like there's no wrong order to put them in. It's just based on what you feel fits with you. So I've done that, and I'll share one more little thing. It's kind of a plug because I love the program. So this guy actually is the founder of the American Beatbox Championship, and he has like at the end some videos about like passing the beat along.
Another great doing this, passing the beat. It's a great way to communicate music and also to teach young people about how they can count music.
Right.
Because if you're counting, you go like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
So it's another way of learning another element of music. It's kind of like this idea of like having a drum circle or cipher in a sense. And
You have to
everyone,
learn. We have to learn how to count bars. When you rap, you have to learn how to count bars. The bars
right,
of the
right.
music, you have to learn how. I had to learn that in the
It's all
studio how
your,
to count
right. It's
bars.
all
Yeah,
based on the timing.
right.
So what's great about it is that not only does it allow you to understand time, but every student gets to have their voice expressed. I know there's some kids that are shy, but like sometimes they come out in these types of things because they feel like, oh, I have an opportunity to do something. So that's one of the things I like to do in teaching is to kind of bring the idea of like, it's not only beatboxing, but it's bringing community and culture together. Because as we said before, hip hop is a culture. So I think that's the best way to bring people together. Yeah, and you can do this at any age. You know, that's the great part about it also.
That goes to my question, right? I'm clearly fascinated, right? I'm clearly fascinated. I'm just, not that I not that I don't know what beatboxing is, but I've never actually had a conversation like this where I have like somebody that teaches beatbox. Like, oh my God, can you teach me to do that? So, do you ever teach adults to do this stuff? And is this particular site something that people can practice with? I mean, this is,
Yeah, it's a
you
free
know,
access site.
music will.
And it does it for various instruments and whatnot. But
That's
yeah,
kind of
this
cool.
is the new series they put in. And then you can even once they let's say learn how to beatbox, this is a new series they have, which is super super cool. Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, and then
Like
let's
hip
get
hop
back. And then let's
song,
get
yeah,
back
it's
to
like
you
hip hop
guys because I don't want to
songwriting.
give
And
anybody a
then
plug who's not,
Right, 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 right.
This is free advertising for them, so let's like never mind.
I
They're
wonder.
gonna
I
bust
wonder.
it down.
Ask our sponsors, Tamara and Jermaine. Do they have any questions? Do they want to
yeah.
ask, or have a comment or anything? Any input? I don't see them on my screen though.
Yeah, they're here.
I'm here, yeah. I have a question, and this is right up my alley. Mike mentioned he's a 75 baby. I'm a 73 baby, and I grew up in hip hop. I DJ'd when I was like 10, 12 years old. I had a recording studio in the 90s. We did an open show for Rozelle, and, you know,
Yes.
used to talk all that nonsense like we were the nicest. Like, we opening for Rozelle, who is he? And I always tell this story because I was like, oh, Rozelle, whatever, because I had never seen him perform. And he went on stage, and I was like, Rozelle, Rozelle. It was insane. Like, he is unbelievable. And so to see that in person, and he did like Computer Love and
Hmm.
like all this other stuff, it was phenomenal. It was up in Boston, and it was insane. But I just say that to say, like, this is right up my alley. I'm my cousin DJ with DJ Mark and the 45 Kings and the Flavor Unit in Jersey. He's from Irvington, and so like this is like right in my wheelhouse as far as my comfort zone and what I really love to talk about. But speaking about the 50 years of hip hop and how the culture has evolved over time, like Michael and Andrew specifically, like your perception of where, and I always separate the culture, what hip hop was, from the rap industry and the
Right.
cash
No,
industry,
you're
what it
supposed
is. So like, yeah, so like, what's your perception of, and you need one, right? So I think the culture was so strong that it was undeniable, right? And I think that fed into like the cash industry or the rap industry and what that is now. What's your perception of where it is now? We know that the culture is strong internationally, but here in the States is more of a business, and outside of the people who are keeping it original and authentic with the beatbox and graffitis and things like that. Like, where do you think, like, how hip hop's evolved over that time, and where do you think it is now in the United States? And can you talk about that, the culture versus the cash industry?
Yeah, I thank you for that question, Jermaine, and yeah, it's come a long way. So I think I can say, as a non-American kid who just I did not understand why I'm so compelled to always only listen to hip hop and do the beatboxing and do the breakdancing. I think that's the time to make me mention that it's a whole culture. So the reason why it's so big is that it is a whole culture, and I can say that it's not my culture, right? So I can when I teach it, I also kind of sometimes teach people, like, okay, what are the fundamentals? What are the basic tenets of hip hop? We have the four basic elements that everybody knows. Then we have the fifth element as
No.
is known as could be known as knowledge or beatbox. At a certain point, they said like fifth element was beatbox, but um, anyway, just to say that, like, it is a culture, and I immediately, upon meeting that culture, I felt drawn to it. Okay, and it's been my kind of lifelong love to join this culture. And so I have a lot of respect for that, in that sense, that I know that I'm joining a culture that I'm not coming from, just as much as, like, as a Jewish person, if somebody comes to do the Seder with me or Rosh Hashanah, I invite them, you're invited to this culture, and I'll, open the doors for them. So honestly, the culture is actually going, if you're asking me like where is it going to and like what do I see, especially like looking back from where it came from, I think as it's going, the culture is actually going to where this culture needs to go. Where I see, for example, in past few years, there's started before the debates of who's the top five right now, which I don't uh, um, care too much about. Um, Before that, we had KRS-One talking about like, you know, that knowledge is something that has to be part of hip hop. Like you have to have knowledge. You have to have knowledge of your life, knowledge of your own culture. And I do agree with that, you know what I mean? So I think it's going to the right place where we understand who the founders of the culture are. We understand more about, you know, how it drives our society, how it literally took over the world. It's the number one art form in terms of gross like income, like, right? It's the number one selling art form in the world right now. So I think in that sense, the culture is just, it's amazing to see it flourish. And, you know, I have some connection to the underground hip hop culture in Israel, for example, and that's a whole different thing because of the language, but it's totally the same. You know what I mean? And so I can say that the core of hip hop, the thing that made it so strong, which was the need and the ability to describe urban life as it was, the life at the time that it was, and the need to describe it, not the need to I don't know, pontificate about it or let other people from outside the culture judge, and you know, none of that. Like people from within who describe how their life is right now. I think it's the biggest gift that hip hop gave the world, because I can tell you that, for example, in the hip hop scene in Israel now, you have like, you know, black Jews actually, you know, Yemenites and all kind of like Ethiopian blacks who are rapping about what it means to be black as a Jew and an Israeli, and it's just pure hip hop. All of it is just there. And so I take your lead, Jermaine, in your question of like not putting my 2 cents on what the industry does to a music right now, because we all see that the industry, there's a greed there, and we're not talking about that aspect of just doing something just to make money. But the culture itself, I think is a huge gift to the whole world. Yeah.
And you okay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead, AJ.
I was gonna say, and your proof, Michael. One of the things a lot of people didn't know, you know, they said it was a black and brown thing. There were a lot of white people. There were a lot of, if you were down with the culture, if you appreciated, you was welcomed. And it crossed everything. You didn't think about if that person was Jewish, if that person was from the Caribbean, if that person was from wherever. It was just like the love of music brought us all together. I found out about people later on, you know what I'm saying, with their nationalities and stuff. Was they just was a good DJ or a good beatbox or a great dancer. That's all it was. And it brought everybody together through the love of music.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
As a matter of fact, I remember about like 15, 16 years ago was the first time that I dared step on a club stage in New York City and just like improvise some beatboxing. And I was so in awe of just being on the same stage with just like regular whoever was there, you know, in the club that night. But there were like guys rapping and improving. All I did was like old school beatboxing, like heavy down beats, and everybody shook my hand afterwards. I was so elated. They were like, you know, you're keeping it real. Like that's what hip hop is about. And that for me is that what you just said, AJ. Like it's the culture welcomes everyone because it's a culture, and there's a lot to be said about it being a culture. It's not a hobby.
Yeah, and that's one thing. Echo what AJ, echo what you were saying. Like that's one thing I was going to mention to you, Michael. Is like you were part of the culture, like Rick Rubin and MC Search from Third Base, and Beastie Boys, the Jewish artists at the core start of hip hop. And so it wasn't black or, it was, hip hop was a culture in itself. It was neutral as far as race and ethnicity and socioeconomic status. It was an art form that was shared by everybody. So, you're not outside that culture. You're right in the core of it and where it's supposed to be. So I just wanted to say that before I, went back to Andrew for that. Yeah.
MC Search had more soul, and I know him as an artist, as a friend. He had more soul. He had more soul than some black artists that I know. Like, he had more soul. Yeah.
Sure.
Tamara has her hand up. I want to give her
Yeah,
opportunity.
I just wanted to piggyback on what everybody was saying. It's really about, it's not about the ethnic culture. It's about the culture of music and where everybody comes together in that. It's not, like you said, you could be
Community,
from
of
Israel.
community.
It's about, what'd you say?
Culture of community. It wasn't just the
Yeah, it's
music.
the cultural community. Yeah, because you get in that circle, right? And you start going back and forth and stuff. You're not looking at the next man. You're listening to the sound. You listening to the music and where that music takes you. So it becomes the culture of the music, not not the culture of each individual people. You become part of one instead of separating you guys out. That's all I wanted to say.
If you had skills, they gave you love. If you could
Yeah.
do it, whatever it is that you did, if you had skills, it didn't matter what you look like. You know what I'm saying? You was welcome. Andrew, Andrew, did you want to answer that question? I don't think you got a chance.
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of feel like I'm going to play devil's advocate. Like, I know like a lot of sampling from hip hop. Like, I work with the youth now. I work with kids all the way from pre-K through 6. So I try to do this. I really do, and I try to bring it. But at the end of the day, technology took over in the sense that it isolated people. And I'm worried that's going to be what's going to happen to it. Like, even with me beatboxing, people could just take a machine and say, I could do the same thing you do, you know? And everything is just very individualized. I mean, think about COVID, people aren't with one another. So trying to bring that back is very tricky. I think it can. But at the same time, I'm a little skeptical on where it's going. And I feel as audience, we want more we rather have something more simplistic than something more complex. And it wasn't always like that, but I feel like it's becoming in that direction. And but I will say, I do like how it is reaching other layers, like in the Latin community with Latin hip hop, and K-pop has a lot of hip hop
That's
aspects.
that's a whole thing right there. K-pop, yeah.
Exactly. However, I'm just nervous for AI. I've seen what AI has been able to do. I've seen what there's just like I still respect the people that put in the hard work, but I feel like as a society we want everything instantaneously, so we'll do the simplest thing to get what we want out of it. And I'm not even talking about for getting money. I'm talking about like
the craft.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, it's kind of disappointing. I mean, like I know kids that were like, "Who's Kendrick Lamar?" But then they know who Cardi B is, But like, and then there's some kids that do know. Like, if I played a sample of the Isley Brothers, it was Ice Cube's "It Was a Good Day,"
Right.
I did that because of unfortunately his death, but like, it's just not. It's going to take some time for us to keep the idea of hip hop and culture together. Even talking as like someone that like jazz got into hip hop, I feel like jazz is now fading a little bit, like it's just like more of the older generation. I do have friends that still do it, and I know people that would still listen to it, but I don't know, just people don't want that. They're like, the attention span has changed from where it used to be.
It's the art of adapting. And it's funny because Rozelle in the little clip, he had a song, "Man Against the Machine," and this is like in the early 90s, and that's where we are right now. Like, it is literally man versus the machine. And the machine, we're still at a point where the machine cannot do everything that the man can do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, machine can do a lot, AI can do a lot, but we're gonna have to learn how to incorporate, like you use jazz. It was a very good example. A lot of people learned how to, when big hip hop started to grow, there were the jazz lovers who infused the jazz into the hip hop and took it to another level. Like we're just gonna have to do that. I see Harry has his hand up. I wanted to give him a chance to, and he been nodding his head a lot, so I wanted to make sure he.
No, I'm just enjoying this. Thank you for doing this. Um, I'm a 66 head, so
Hey, me
so
too. 66. There you go.
yeah,
There you go.
so this, this is my thing. I got my vinyl in here and everything. So I was just thinking about, the comment that you were making, and I think for the masses that may be true, but I think, if like, it was talked about before, the underground, if the underground
Right.
survived all this time, and you have artists that put out 10 albums, and the fans of that artist know all 10 albums, and the masses may know one of them, so if that survived, I think even with the problems that we're talking about with AI and those types of things with technology, the art will still survive. And I think those people that appreciate the realness of what you guys are doing, and what the many other people have been doing all this time, I think there'll still be an appetite for it.
If you just got to keep it to the essence. But I do want to say though, there's an example, and I just saw a clip. So Timbaland, the producer, always wanted to work with Biggie.
Oh, I've seen this.
And he
Yeah.
found a way to work with Biggie. And I've heard the clip of what he did, and you can't tell me, as one of the biggest Biggie fans there is, that sounds like Biggie today. Like a lot of the AI, they take one voice and they're doing another song, like they got Michael Jackson doing a Weekend record. But what Timbaland was able to do was, this sounds like a beat that he made for Biggie today, and it sounded like Biggie rhyming over it today. But when I said incorporating it, he's trying to work out something with the family. So this thing could be really big, but that his family eats off of this. You know what I'm saying? And it's like that's what I mean when I'm saying incorporating and understanding what's going on. We're gonna have to find a way to bring it into what we do. And you know what I'm saying? And or to keep it going. And you're right. It went through very many phases. We went through all kinds of phases. I mean, it survived going down south. It survived gangster rap in the West. It survived Uncle Luke in Miami. Like, I mean, it survived everything, and we're still here. So, but it was everybody's contribution. See, in New York, we started this. So we thought, like, if it wasn't from us, like, it wasn't matter. And then we got spanked a little bit by the South and the West. Like, we can do this over here too. We don't need you. And then, but it was everybody's contribution that got it to 50 years. New York hip hop, while it was great, if it only stayed that, we wouldn't be celebrating 50 years. You know what I'm saying? So it was all the different interactions, and all the love overseas. Again, they take that serious like we did in the beginning. Yeah. There's a whole culture over there. They respect the culture, and they really authentically really try to represent it to the best of their ability. And that helps keep us going too. So is there any other questions?
I want to quickly give a shout out to one of my best friends, my brother from another mother, who's with us in the call. His name is Guy. You might want to turn out your camera. I just want to give him a shout out because this is the dude that introduced me to the Fat Boys back in '88.
Oh, okay.
He came. Guy, I don't know if you're there. Anyway, the black and white frame that you see here, Guy Felix brought. He was my best friend in middle school, and he came with his mixtape and say, "Yo, the Fat Boys, you gotta listen to them." So,
and you never been the same since, right?
Never been the same since. And then in high school, we were like a rap duo. So just to say, like, it goes a long way. And as you said, like it all this love bounced back. And we're keep bouncing it back to the world. So yeah.
I won't mention Two Live Crew and all that because I don't want to shame you here.
Hey. I was there too. So yeah.
Welcome. AJ Tamara has her hand back up, and then Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to speak to the fact a little bit about or if you guys could the crossover, because hip hop has been here for 50 years, and just like the use of beatbox and body percussion. I mean, there are origins, you know, the original before
Way before.
beatbox was beatbox, like Al Jarreau was like
Right.
you know, like a singer that he incorporated noises and sounds, like you had the sample of Bobby McFerrin. But even before that was like scat and bebop
Scat.
originally, right? So like
Right.
you have to think of all those things. So when you ask, you know, where do you think it's going, it's like progressively going into different, you know, different areas. Like
Mhm.
even I listen to commercials, and every other commercial has a hip hop origin or beatbox in the background, or so it's not gonna die. It's just, I think it's just gonna, you know, like progress into different avenues of it. But so appreciative that it's grown to be this over the 50 years. So that's all.
The commercialism is going to be there, but it's only going to be there when they can make some money. And what I mean by that, like when it's the best thing and everybody can just make money off it and just pillage off of it, they're going to do it. But they do that and then they fall off and go to the next thing that they can make money. It's the people that are really authentically in it. I mean, we survived Fred and Barney doing a rap song, you know what I'm saying, in the Flintstones commercial or
Yeah.
whatever, cereal commercial. We survived
Right.
all the commercialism of it, and we still have people that Mike was inspired over in Israel. And you know what I'm
Right.
saying? We still have all these things going on. And there are people that like me, I am a hip hop head. Anyone who knows me, I am hip hop down. There's just, I'm hip hop in everything I do. There's just no getting away from it. And I will always be that. You know what I'm saying? So, and there's a lot of
Yeah.
people like that.
So they're like, not only will it, you know, like you said, the commercials and things will die, but the fact that Michael and Andrew can now teach it, like
Right.
there's a teaching
Right.
aspect of it. Like there's going to be different ways to keep it incorporated. Like, you know, it's been around long enough that there is a source that we can talk about when it started and bring that to people and teach them, you know, physically how to do it. So there's like a whole bunch of things that are tied into that. So
To go
The great
back
thing
to it,
about
I mean, oh, sorry. I was thinking about like the whole thing. Wait, am I on? The folk music thing. Folk music has been around for 100 years, but yet I still teach it. Kids still love it. Kids still do it on the playground. What makes hip hop any different, you know? That's like my goal is like, I want them to like be ciphering like on the playground sort of thing, working together, being with one another. That's what's the beauty of teaching music in a sense, you know, is like you're in a class setting, but you're all together. You're all one group, one team, you know, and I just find that to be beautiful.
one guy mentioned breakdancing, and I said very early on, it's the elements. And thanks to Andrew, I already knew him, but Andrew set up the interview with B-Boy London for a chapter in my book on breakdancing, and he was with the original New York City Breakers, and he's in movies like The Last Dragon
Beach Street.
and Beach. No, he wasn't in Beach Street. His crew
Oh,
was.
yeah,
He
yeah.
wasn't in Beach Street. He's in The Last Dragon. He's in Wild Style. So
Oh,
he's in
okay.
both. He's in both of those movies. But one of the things, and I said in the beginning, it's the beatbox, it's the graffiti, it's the DJ, it's the underground MCs, not the commercial stuff you hear on the radio, that keep the essence of hip hop to the street level where it was. And as long as there's the spirit of that, no matter what happens commercially, right, the elements, as long as it commercially, it's those things that keep it like the MCs, Jay-Z and all that, they're gonna make all this money, but that's not what. As long as there's the beatbox, as long as there's graffiti, the real stuff, and the real DJ and the turntablism, and the art of actually lyricism, not rap, but lyricism, those
Right.
things
Poetry,
are
yeah.
gonna always keep it in the essence of where it was. And then it'll continue to grow and grow. Is there any questions from the audience? I know there's some people that I see heads nodding, and I don't know if anybody want to make a comment or a question. Yes, there's no stopping us, no stopping. Absolutely, guy,
AJ,
absolutely.
I wanted to try to. We have Matt on from Dinner Wax, who just opened up a record store here in Ossining, so he's keeping vinyl alive.
You know what? I wanted to know what that Den of Wax. I've been meaning to see that name. I wanted to know what that was. So yes, welcome, Den.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
No, it's all good.
Anybody who keeps vinyl alive is a hero of mine. I mean, yo, real talk.
Awesome. Yeah, we focus on more of the underground stuff too. I mean, we carry a little of everything, but the focus is on the underground scene. I actually have a box right next to me from this a label called High Focus. It's a UK hip hop label. I guess the one thing that I've been kind of thinking about for a while everyone's been talking is I grew up both in like the hardcore scene and hip hop and everywhere else. And I think as time has progressed, both hip hop and hardcore have kind of taken these parallel roads. Can you mind turning on the TV in the room? Where there's the real culture and the scene and the community, and then there's the music that is being labeled hip hop or rap, which is different than like going to the parties where there used to be, it'd be a hip hop show, like MOP would perform, but then there'd be like skateboarders on the roof or breakdancing, breakdance or freestyle competition. And I don't see that as much. And I think that's the area, the community and the building from the ground up that really needs some work, especially in Westchester. I don't see much at all here. But it's the music scene in general is pretty weak in Westchester. But it's the same thing with hardcore, where it went from like being this real community and a scene where you could be all different types of music to like now hardcore is like this aggressive sounding music, which is taken away a little bit from the cultural aspect. And I guess I wanted to hear how everyone felt about the music versus the culture. And you guys have been talking about it, but ways to strengthen and bring back the I guess the difference between the two, because I kind of always looked at hip hop as the culture and rap as the music.
The music, right? I want to say and give it to Ed before Andrew gets it. So I'm doing a book. We got our own thing, a look at hip hop from the 914. It actually comes out. It'll be on Amazon this weekend, if everything works right. But one of the things showing the importance of the 914 in the hip hop industry. So there is a next generation that I'm happy to say, and there's pockets in Yonkers, and there's little pockets in New Rochelle, and then there's second generation artists like Jadakiss' son is an incredible lyricist. I was like, oh my God, he blew me away. Grand Puba's son is an incredible lyricist. You know what I'm saying? I mean, they're not doing what their fathers were doing. They're doing the new stuff, but they're still lyrical and not that mumble stuff. Like they're keeping it alive. And there are some MCs and there are little gatherings, little pockets like we started. There's little pockets. And it made me feel when I wrote that chapter, We Got Next, that, we're in good hands. And here in Westchester, we're in good hands. And when I talked to TQ late last time, he said there's some people coming out of White Plains that I need to look out for. So there's right now it's just little pockets. You know what I'm saying? Like the Yonkers people might not know what the New Rochelle people doing, and White Plains people might not. They haven't connected yet, but there are pockets of that next generation. What they're not going to ever do what we did. You know what I'm saying? We don't do what our parents did. You know what I'm saying? But they're taking it to different levels and keeping that authenticity. And there's starting to be DJs that are starting to come back out with the vinyl and the turntablism as opposed to the Serato. We had an event at Mount Vernon Public Library, and all those DJs were turntablists. They were all
vinyl DJ at the store on for our grand opening on Saturday, doing only vinyl. Okay. He actually dug through my personal collection. It's pretty awesome.
Oh wow.
I wanted to add just one more thing on what I was saying before, is that I do think the music is continuing to expand and develop. And now there's all sorts of different types of hip hop that is really pushing the boundaries of what it was. And yeah, sure, there's like a lot of people bringing back boom bap and the traditional East Coast sound, but there's a lot of also just mixing in live instrumentation and just lots of different really styles, a lot more than I've ever seen before, which is really cool.
The problem so the internet was a Pandora's box. So when I got in the game in 87-ish, I had to sign to some sort of label that has some sort of distribution to get my voice and my music out to the world. Now you can sit in your basement or your backyard or your bedroom, and you can punch some buttons on the computer, and you can load it up on the site, and you can blast it out to the world now. So it was an equalizer for the little artists, but it also was Pandora box, because now we're back to when I used to be a crate digger. You literally have to go through 100 pieces of garbage to get to that gem. You understand what I'm saying? Because it got flooded, and that's the bad thing. It anybody can do it now. You know what I'm saying? So but cream always rises to the top eventually. So you know what I'm saying? Like at some point, those are the good ones will surface. So it is in good hands. It needs some work. And I interviewed DJ Premier, and he talked about real hip hop, and he said every time he makes a song, or every time he does one of them underground hip hop joints, no matter how far he is down in the game, he continues to put points on the board. He can, and it says as long as there's time on the clock, and he continues to put points on the board, he's never real hip hop is never out of the game. And that's how I feel like there's people putting points on the board. Might be down by 50, but they're continuing to put points on the board and represent the elements. And that's, go ahead, Andrew. I know you.
Oh yeah, no, go ahead. I was just gonna say, let's hear from Andrew.
Sorry. I was gonna say, like, some of the people I still like listening to, at least are authentic to what their lives are like.
Right.
those that I don't like are the ones that are saying like they grew up in the project, blah blah blah. It's like, no, you didn't. Look up their Wikipedia. They grew up in middle class, or they grew up this or that. But if they're just true to themselves, like
Eminem.
Well, funny, I was thinking of a different Detroit rapper, not Eminem, NF. Who really like goes through a lot, and you can feel there's like even string, like that album was so underrated. I'm so upset it never got a Grammy nominee, but like you can feel the emotion in what he's talking about. You know it's true, rather than some people that like just take whatever someone else is doing and say the same thing. But if it doesn't actually connect to what your life was like, then I don't know. And I feel like it's been different since like the hip hop culture, where people had to like scurry around to find this or that. Now it's, I don't know. I just feel like there's just
we used to make party records to escape the tragedy, the hood, to escape the realism of the hood. We made party records. Like a lot of those early artists, flashing them, were making party records. You know what I'm saying? Because they were trying to escape what they were dealing with day to day. And what you're talking about is then we got to a point where you got people in suburbia living out gangster fantasies, and they don't even know of a hood. You know what I mean? And it's just like, they're making it up, and that's a shame. But eventually that falls flat too. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's but the reason I said Eminem, what I always respected about him, one, lyricism I always respected, but two, he never pretended to be black. He never wanted to tell the black. I mean, he told stories only he could tell about living in a trailer home and his mother sleeping with his best friend in high school, and drugs I never heard of in my life. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I never heard of half of those drugs till I heard of Eminem. But that was his ghetto. That was his hood. That was his tragedy. But he never once tried to portray, like a Vanilla Ice tried to portray, like he had this ghetto black life that he never lived. He never lived none of that. But he thought he had to tell those stories to be a hip hop artist. Eminem just kept it true to himself and became one of the greatest lyricists, but being himself though.
So I'd like to ask our guests, because we're coming down to the wire, down to a close. I just want to find out what's the takeaway for you guys? What do you want, the audience to know, and how can we support you guys, the work that you do? Both of you, Michael and Andrew.
So first of all, if you guys can just practice this every day. I know this is being recorded. No more excuses, guys. This is going to be available. It's recorded. Keep it alive. That's all I want.
So where you are, is there websites where they can contact you and see your stuff, follow you on social media or anything like to keep up on what you're doing?
Yes, please. You can follow me. Always follow me. My handles are super simple. It's my beat and then the number two. My beat two is where you can find me on Instagram. I'll just put it here so that you can see
Okay,
it.
got it.
IB2, and YouTube as well as Instagram. And yeah, just follow me and keep it alive. And mybeat.biz is my website where you can really see my entire body of work. So I'm a professional percussion player, instrumental percussion, body percussion, beatboxing, as well as do musical theater and dance. So I do a lot of things as well as teach. So a lot of like my portfolio is under my website, which is mybeat.biz, is as you mentioned in the top of the show, Lane. And yeah, feel free to contact me. My things are there, and always looking for the next thing, the next project, the next collaboration. Like Tamara knows, I love community. I want to help bring it in to the next generation and see, as you said, AJ, where they're gonna take it, because they're not gonna do what we did in the 80s. So
And Michael, you're
Absolutely.
doing are you teaching some classes for this project for the Arts 3D?
yes, I'm now teaching. Maybe Tamara wanna give the right credentials, but I'm just having a blast teaching at right, Austining and Peekskill.
Yeah, through he's teaching currently for Arts 10566 as part of their after school enrichment program through that nonprofit. And then for us, we're trying to work with the Austin School District through the Arts 3D foundation grant that ENU Builds received to bring beatbox classes into the school district. We're having a little bit of a scheduling issues, but we're trying to work those out. We have the whole year to bring him in, so we're trying to do that now.
I predict they're going to be very popular classes. I predict it's going to be very popular
Absolutely.
and a lot of fun. Thank you, Michael, for being here. Thank you for bringing it. Andrew, what about you? What would you like to leave the audience with, and how can we support you? What's
Uh,
next?
I guess just leave the audience with like kind of like in the beginning, like anyone can do this. I feel like people are saying like they're gonna hear this and be like, I can't do that. I can't make those noises. It's like you just start off small and just build your way up, you know? Everyone had to start from somewhere. That's why like even in my bio or in that description, every student being successful, that can happen in music. I know in other subjects it might be like more complicated work, but like if you make a sound, you're making music. You know, there's no right or wrong way of doing it. And that's what I do in the classroom is trying to encourage everyone to just feel comfortable trying something. Um, so okay, yeah, I'm hoping this kind of culture stays alive and um, I would love one day. See, I've never done the individual beatboxing thing. I've always done it as like accompanying other things. So that'd be kind of like a fun project. I've always wanted to have this weird idea because I don't know if you know what Rockstar Loops was, where there was a drum set in the commercial, someone playing drum set, then he beatboxes. Like I used to tap for a while and be cool to like find a tap dancer and beatboxer to like trade and do stuff like that because it's all percussive based. Um, in terms of where to find me, I don't have my own personal stuff because I've been so busy, as probably AJ knows, with the hip hop thing. So I'll put those things in there. But, you know, I always try to incorporate it into it somehow. We got some upcoming events coming in soon. Um, one of them, actually, I'm curious to know is the whole DMX. Did he beatbox? I actually learned the whole story from D Cross. Curious to get that information either from him or have him come and kind of explain that. It's like a really fascinating story. But Yeah, that's the wait, was that the link? No, it wasn't. That was the link just to get onto the website. Hold on, let me redo that.
Okay, good. Okay, what's the link you're sharing so I can tell folks?
So this is through the Yonkers Lost City of Hip Hop thing that I've been associated with, how we've done stuff with workshops around different libraries that I'm starting a curriculum for hip hop in Yonkers. And I'm also I'm donating uh like $3,000 worth of equipment to the Yonkers Public Library where I'll teach an after school program in production.
Awesome.
And sometimes even like using those yeah, using the pads, I use that with the beatboxing part too. So like I try to incorporate that with the machine and the human. So I guess the human machine, you know?
Oh,
So
wonderful thing. So we can get that information through the Yonkers Library as well, Andrew?
uh yeah, they would have that information as well.
Beautiful.
We have, like I said, we have a bunch of we have a bunch of events coming up leading to that lock show in Westchester County Center, which anyone from the Westchester area should go. And then we're doing a break-in competition. So Mike, now you know you're in Austining. That's something to definitely check out. No, we're doing a lot to try to just benefit the community. And yeah.
Okay. All right. So you shared your
Yeah,
contact.
ignore the
Okay.
first one. The second one is correct.
All
Yeah.
right. Beautiful. Well, thank you so much. Thanks to both of you. Jermaine and Tamara, before we sign off, do you want to say goodbye? I want to invite people to come to the next discussion, but I want to give you guys the last word. And I want to also say out loud that the Den of Wax is located at, hello, I've lost it already, 175 Main Street in Ossining. And I'm looking forward to going there. AJ and I will
Yes,
definitely show up for sure.
absolutely, absolutely.
We're right between the tattoo parlor and the barber shop. We're kind of like off the main street
Okay.
to go through a front door. But thank you guys for having me. It's been really cool.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And thanks everybody
Yeah.
on Facebook. Tamara, Jermaine.
Yep, I just want to thank everybody for being here tonight. It's good to have a jam session to talk about all things hip hop. I'm glad that Andrew and Michael were able to share a little information about what they bring to the table for beatboxing and body percussion. I hope that everyone here takes an opportunity to attend or listen to, or go to a show or read a book or just try and stay in the loop of the music culture. um I just thank you for attending tonight, everybody, and having a great conversation. um if we want to mention about the next upcoming discussion, this discussion tonight was part of a four-part series. So the next one will be in December. I believe it's the 19th. It'll be is it I think it's the 19th on the
Okay,
third
I'm gonna take
Monday
a look.
of
Go
the
for it.
month. That's when we'll be highlighting AJ's book. And you want to say that the name of it correctly, AJ? I don't want to mess it up for you.
Um, it's called "We Got Our Own Thing: A Look at Hip Hop from the 914," and behind me is part of the cover. Of it celebrates hip hop from the 914. But I did want to say one thing though. In writing the book, I found out one of my favorite singers is from Austin, Fonda Ray, over like a fat rat. I did not know she was from
Oh,
Austin.
yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
And that record contributed a lot to hip hop. It's been sampled a lot.
Yeah.
She's in the book
Hmm.
of all the artists that have
Hmm.
sampled her. So I found that out working on the
Right.
book. I did not know that.
So the date is December 18th. That is the third Monday. We got our own thing, a look at hip hop from the 914, talking about Westchester's influence and contribution to hip hop. And we will have hopefully some guests who are in the industry that hail from Westchester, and of course, AJ Woodson. We will be sending out flyers, and we would love for you all to help us promote this series. If you enjoyed this one, please keep coming back and let us know how we can support you as well, because it's all a family affair here at NU Builds. And Don't be a stranger. Tamara, anything else you want to say? Oh, you're muted.
Yes. Thank you, Lane, and thank you, AJ, for heading up this talk. And we look forward to the next one in December. Thank you.
We do indeed. Take care, y'all.
Excellent. Thank
Look
you
for the
so
video.
much.
Thank you.
One
Great.
love.
Bye, Andrew. Bye, Michael. Thank you so much, guys.
Peace.
So great.